Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Welcome all of you. We were discussing the topic, the very important topic of prana in Swami Vivekananda's Raj Yoga. We saw through that example how we get hold of our breath. The breath, which is apparently a action which we do unconsciously. Apparently all of us breathe unconsciously, in the sense whether we are aware of it or not, we continuously breathe. Our autonomous nervous system, like it does for digestion, for circulation of blood, for the heart beats, the pumping of blood and all those things, our breathing has also become automatic with us. So we don't have to make any effort to breathe. Even without any effort, our breathing goes on spontaneously. That is how one of the 5 pranas of our body is functioning right now. So our yogis, the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra says that we have to catch hold of this breath to control the prana. That is what we discussed. We saw how regular breathing helps us to regulate our nervous system, the nerve currents, which is also one of the pranas, of the functions of the prana which is running our body, and that those nerve currents which are helping us to run our whole body, which are conveying information from the brain to the body and from the body to the brain. So that regulation of the nervous energy within the body helps us to control our own body, our Annamaya Kosha, that we had discussed. So what is the function of regulating this other prana, which is manifest outside as breath? Anyway, we are breathing. We are not. We don't have to make a conscious effort to breathe. Every person, every child which is born, goes on breathing in a rhythmic way or an unrhythmic way. Whether you breathe regularly or irregularly, you are breathing all the same. The body is making you breathe. The pumping action of the lungs make you breathe. So also the other forces which run our body. So all our actions or all the forces which run the body are, as it were, in control of the autonomous nervous system, which tells the heart when to beat, how many times to beat, depending on the health of the individual. It also regulates our breath automatically, whether we want it or not. We breathe in a particular pattern, every one of us. And finally, we saw that this nervous energy, this flow of nervous energy in our body, it somehow stimulates the brain and gives rise to various thoughts. And we think these thoughts are random. We think we just sit down, whether we observe our breath or not, whether we observe our motion of our pranas or not, whether the autonomous nervous system is taking care of all our pranas or not, we find that some thoughts arise in our mind at regular intervals of time without apparently we being in control of those thoughts. It's not that we want to think certain thoughts. They just come to us, appear only when they appear or only when they are manifest as external thought, then we understand. But the root of that thought, or the thought, if it can be compared to a big bubble, the small bubble is very much present in the deep unconscious mind. From that unconscious mind, from the depth of the sea, as it were, the bubble rises up, and when it comes to the surface and bursts, then only we know that the bubble has come to the surface. That is, we are aware of our thoughts. And then we find they are coming in regular intervals. Sometimes they are coming very fast, sometimes they are very controlled and slow. When we are in total nidra or sleep, we don't have any thought except the thought of total rest. So different types of vrittis or thought waves are constantly coming up, and when they appear on the surface, they appear as a bunch or a mixture of so many thoughts. So Swami Vivekananda here tries to tell us that prana, which is the force running or force responsible for conducting all the activities of our body and even giving rise to different thoughts, by the force of prana, the different thoughts arise in our mind. This prana, which is regulating our entire body, is not under our full control. It is under the control of our unconscious mind, not the conscious mind. Very often, unless you start meditating, unless you focus all your thoughts and then try to control it, try to control the breath, try to control the mind, unless you do it consciously, it is unconscious mind which gives rise to random thoughts, just as in the case of animals. Animals also, most of their thoughts are instinctive. When they are hungry, when they see certain objects, they just run after that object. They want to satisfy their desire. And they are guided by the external sense objects. And their sense organ and their mind are controlled by these external circumstances. They have apparently no control over their sense organs. But human mind is different. We can control our prana, we can control our mind to a certain extent if we are wise, if we have this control over this buddhi, or if a buddhi controls the mind, then we can possibly control our prana also. That is the whole goal of pranayama. So Swami Vivekananda in his Raj Yoga explains in great detail what this prana is. It is not only the life force which runs our body, which inspires our thoughts, but it is also the life force behind the universe. So all force outside our body also, like heat energy, the gravitational energy, the electric energy, the wireless communication, the electromagnetic energy outside, the cosmic energy, all the forces that we see in nature, they are also can be classified under one heading of universal prana. So our individual prana is like a small whirlpool in the entire ocean of the universal prana. So the little prana which we have is not everything. It is connected to the universal prana. So when we pray to God, what happens is we try to connect our individual prana with the universal prana, connect our individual mind with the universal mind, which we say is God's mind or God's will. We try to unite our will with God's will. And when we are when we succeed in doing that, when we are able to do it consciously, we are actually practicing yoga. So yoga is nothing but a union of the individual soul with the universal soul. The union of the individual prana with the universal prana, consciously. Unconsciously, we are part of it, and we are just like puppets in this whole universe, and destiny takes us to this place and that place, as it does with the entire creation. The prakriti, the universal prana, the changes in the universal prana makes corresponding changes, respective changes in our individual prana. And man often feels, a human being often feels that he's a victim, or maybe he is a mere puppet in the hands of this universal mind or universal prana, and his destiny or his life, his actions, his entire life depends on the will of God, which is the will of Ishvara, which is the sum total of all the jivas. Now, yoga says, are we just a helpless creature? As we see the plants and trees around us, the plants, trees, and to a certain extent, all the animals and most of the human beings, are we simply creatures of chance? Is Prakriti totally responsible for all our actions, all our future? Have we nothing independent, or is nothing under our own control? Now, this is the quest which Raj Yoga helps us to attain in this life. So, by the gradual control of the prana, the yogis found, especially in the system of Patanjali's yoga, which is the real yoga, not just the asanas and control of prana. You may begin with all these things, but it has to go far beyond that. The main idea is, by controlling the breath, which is the most grossest of all pranas, we try to control our individual pranas and somehow connect it with the universal prana and seek the help of universal prana to solve our problems. So control of prana begins with the control of with pranayama as we understand it, the gross pranayama, by controlling the breath. And then Swamiji discusses one very important thing. When we regulate this prana, either through yoga or through prayers or through karma yoga or even through bhakti yoga, whenever we practice any kind of yoga, consciously or unconsciously, normally we are trying to control our prana, and that results in control of our thoughts. Yoga has chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is nothing but controlling the quality and quantity of thoughts that arise unconsciously in our mind. If it arises unconsciously, we fall into the category of animals, because they also are puppets, and the unconscious mind decides their future and how they will act in this world. But the moment we start doing yoga, we take matters into our own hands by the grace of God. We try to control our prana, and in the process, seek the help, seek the connection with the universal prana, and improve the quality of our life. So thought has three manifestations. Swamiji, while discussing this prana, because of the wonderful influence prana has, especially when you try to do pranayama consciously, the real pranayama, not just the breath control, but when we really start controlling our breath through japa, through meditation, through prayers, we find that it influences our unconscious mind as well. We are not victims of nature. We are not victims of our unconscious mind or chitta. The chitta vrittis are to be controlled consciously. And when we do it, we not only control the thoughts, but we also control the prana also. So, what are the different thoughts? So, Swamiji says there are three types of thoughts. First, that is, thoughts as three different manifestations, the same thought. First, it is unconscious thought, the lowest instinct. It is known as instinct. We share this instinct with animals. Animals also have a rudimentary thought process which is known as instinct. This instinct or unconscious thought, Sigmund Freud, who was the father of modern psychology, you may say, thought this unconscious mind is everything. In fact, he tried to show that we are nothing better than animals. It may be true for a majority of human beings, But Freud's psychology is not, it is a psychology of sick people, or psychology of ordinary people, or psychology of people with animal-like instincts. He studied a lot of minds or the thought processes of sick people, of people who had psychiatric problems, because only such people went to him. And being a psychologist, he studied only sick minds. So when you study sick minds and think that kind of mind is all that we have and everybody has a sick mind, then we are making a fundamental mistake there. We think that everybody is guided by their unconscious thoughts as animals are guided by their unconscious thought. It may be true with a vast majority of people, and they may be influenced by animal instincts, animal thought, animal-like basic thoughts, which are predominantly arising from the unconscious mind. And it appears that these people have very little control over their own minds. But that doesn't mean the entire humanity is like that. There are quite a few wise people, noble people, who though the thoughts arise from the unconscious mind, they are so much conscious, they just try to suppress it or they just try to control it before they act. And they say, no, I am not an animal. I will not have these instinctive thoughts. I will not run by my instincts alone. I will not fall a prey to my Annamaya Kosha in the name of physical freedom. I can't do that. I have a place in society. I am a nobler person than these animals or the lower human beings because of my noble nature, because of my discrimination, because of my wisdom, because of my ability to do things when they ought to be done, to think good thoughts, to think noble thoughts, and have a control over one's own life. When such things happen in in a human being's life, then we say that he is in control of his rational thought. So when you raise yourself with the help of your buddhi to the Vijnanamaya Kosha level, then the Manomaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha appear to be in some kind of control of the buddhi, of our individual buddhi. Our Vijnanamaya Kosha controls most of our actions. Before we succumb to the sense inputs, we try to question. The instinctive thought tells us, you go ahead and do this. But our buddhi, subtle mind, the conscious thought, tells us, no, don't do it, because it is an unconscious thought. Don't behave according to the unconscious thought. Otherwise, there will be hardly any difference between you and a brute, between you and an animal. So now and then, this higher mind always guides you. It guides every human being, and it, in the modern psychology or in modern philosophy, it is known as the voice of conscience. Everybody, even a underdeveloped human being, just a plain human being, when he is born and when he is educated, he has a certain voice within, which is known as the voice of conscience. The voice of conscience guides a person with the help of his developed buddhi or wisdom to be wise and prudent enough not to fall a prey to these unconscious thoughts. And it says, oh, let them come, let those unconscious thoughts arise in my mind, but I'm not going to be caught off guard. I'll be always on guard and see that I behave in society in a way which allows me to live a life in a very noble way. So these are the conscious or rational mind, and every human being has experienced this, especially when he's in the initial stages of practicing Raj Yoga. That the thoughts which our rational mind thinks, They appear to come from another source, somewhere far off from the unconscious. And when it comes to the conscious mind, sometimes we are at a loss to understand what are we going to do with these thoughts. Why are such horrible thoughts coming to me? What kind of training I have to give to my mind so that these thoughts don't come often and trouble me? Why have they come? Why have they come right now? We don't understand the cause is somewhere deep down into the unconscious. So Sigmund Freud said these are all because of the suppressed desires, the repressed desires of the past life and this life in childhood, because they don't believe in the past life. So he said in childhood certain basic desires were suppressed by your parents or the society around you, and you could not manifest those desires or those thoughts, unconscious thoughts. So those unconscious thoughts disturb you when you become adult. When you grow up, these childhood suppressed thoughts influence you, and you succumb to that, and then you behave in a peculiar way. So you require some kind of understanding of this mind. That's what they believed, that everything is at the mercy of our unconscious mind. And it may be true for human beings who are at a lower stage of development, who are not even aware of what yoga is, what yoga can do to them. They might think that we have to turn to such people, psychiatrists, who will probe deep into our unconscious mind, and by asking different questions, by counseling, they'll try to find out what are the repressed thoughts, what are the unconscious thoughts deep within your mind that are those thoughts are troubling you, and as a result of which you are behaving in a certain particular way. You are not able to get rid of depression, certain thoughts which give rise to depressive thoughts, unfulfilled desires very often in a normal or a sick human being are the cause of our problems. We don't deny the studies which Sigmund Freud is made. These are empirical studies, but you should always remember that these are studies done on sick minds. So is it logical for us to consider ourselves in that category? Are we sick minds? Are we not normal human beings with lot of wisdom? If that is the case, then we should turn to higher forms of control of mind rather than consider our mind as a sick mind and go to uh, psychiatrists. So, Swamiji says how to find out from where these thoughts are coming. The causes are like outside the circle, like comets. So he found that just as Sigmund Freud and all the modern psychologists said that these unconscious thoughts are responsible for your conscious behavior, and certain repressed or unconscious, disturbing unconscious thoughts of the past give rise to peculiarities in your thinking processes. Yoga says, why should you think that they all come from the unconscious mind only? There are other thoughts which come from a state of mind which is higher than the conscious mind. It is known as superconscious mind. So this superconscious mind was something which was new to Western psychology. The superconscious mind is beyond the circle of reason. Just as thoughts coming from the unconscious mind cannot be explained, we sometimes cannot explain why such useless and depressive thoughts are coming, because they are coming from the unconscious. But at the same time, yoga says, don't worry, just as you can induce the thoughts come from the unconscious mind, the thoughts can also come from the superconscious mind if we connect ourselves to this super mind or to the great saints, great people uh, who have controlled their minds through the practice of yoga. When we are in the company of such minds, when we go to our teacher who teaches us yoga, who teaches us how to control our minds, then we are influenced by the superconscious, the thoughts which are coming from a higher level, beyond reason, no doubt. They are also cannot be explained by the ordinary conscious mind. That's why reason cannot give you all the explanations. How does satsanga help? How does interacting with the great people help? How does meditating on Sri Ramakrishna and all the Buddha and all the great saints help us? The yoga says that by meditating on that, you are actually accessing the superconscious, the mind, the thoughts which are have their origin in the superconscious mind, not from the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind we are sharing with animals, with the lower human beings, but the superconscious mind we are sharing, or we get the benefit of our the thoughts which have been thought by the great saints, by the wonderful thoughts they have left behind. They are also like material existence. They are also equally powerful in influencing our life, our destiny. So when we do yoga, when we approach a teacher, when we do mantra, when we do prayers, when we worship great prophets, we have access to the great positive thoughts, and then you'll see gradually, instead of being influenced by the unconscious, we start getting influenced by the satsanga, by the superconscious thoughts, or the higher thoughts, or the elevated thoughts, or the noble thoughts of these great people. And the more we are familiar with this, the more we allow ourselves to be influenced by these positive people whom we find all over the world. Either they are living, or even they might not be living in their physical existence, but they are surely living in their subtle existence. Because the death of the body, Annamaya Kosha, doesn't mean the death of the mind. The thoughts that these prophets think, they are still alive. They are vibrating. Only thing is, we should be able to catch those vibrations. When we control our prana, what our prana does is, it connects us with the universal prana, and in the process it connects us with the universal mind, universal good reservoir of good thoughts thought by the entire humanity. And we suddenly find that our thoughts are coming from another source, not just from the unconscious mind. They are coming from the unconscious mind as well. The lower thoughts, the depressive thoughts, they are coming from the unconscious mind, but we are balancing it by the thoughts which come from a superconscious mind. So beyond the circle of reason, these thoughts have their origin in the superconscious mind. And this physical universe, just as the physical universe, as modern physics says, we are part of the entire universe. Our bodies, our physical existence is part of the whole cosmos. We are a speck of dust in the whole universe. We are a small particle, as it were, in the entire universe. So just as we are parts of the whole sum total of the physical universe, our minds are also small part, an infinitesimal portion of the universal mind. So though our mind has limited capacities, we can lay access to the universal mind, the noble minds, the prophetic thoughts, the prophetic ideas, if we know how to connect. That is what yoga attempts to do. Yoga attempts to connect our individual sick mind or a normal mind to a higher or a spiritual mind through the practice of pranayama. So this control of prana actually helps you more than helping the body. It may help you in regulating your physiological body. It has a limited role in improving our physical conditions. That is fine. But its major role, according to yoga, the superior yoga or Raj Yoga, is to enable us to get access to the universal mind, the positive thoughts of the universe. And once that is done, you can feel that you are the part of that mental universe. And just as the physical body or the physical mass of your body is part of the universal mass or the universe of the physical universe. Your mental universe also is represents the mental universe, which represents the universal mind, is connected to your small mind, and it gets its sustenance, it gets its strength, it gets its nourishment from this universal mind. That is why when we think good thoughts, when we meditate on great people, what we are doing is we are connecting our mental battery to the battery of these great highly charged minds, and that helps us. So Humphrey Davis was a scientist. He did a strange experiment in the laboratory. Swamiji gives that example because he was speaking, he was addressing people, or he was speaking to before people who had a lot of faith in the ability of scientists to explain the natural phenomena. So Humphrey Davis' famous experiment was, just because we don't understand how the gross or how the subtle acts on us, how the Annamaya Kosha is in control of our Manomaya Kosha or the Pranamaya Kosha, we don't see the influence of the subtle over the gross. But this experiment, which happened as an accident in his laboratory, Humphrey Davy saw suddenly that when he accidentally broke a beaker which he was preparing laughing gas. There is a particular type of gas which makes you feel elated. Just as some gases can make you unconscious, some gases give you a pleasant smell. There is a gas which he synthesized in the laboratory by mixing certain chemicals, and accidentally that laughing gas spread through the whole laboratory, and a little bit of laughing gas gives you a feeling of elation. It has an effect on the body, on the nervous system as well. So Humphrey Davy wrote a wonderful experience where unconsciously he saw the gross is melting, the gross universe that he was seeing suddenly melted into subtle ideas, that the gross suddenly became, the vibrations of matter got converted into vibrations of mind. And for some time, because of the influence of the gas, he somehow got connected to the universal prana. And he thought that this whole world has vanished, the laboratory, the people around him have vanished. And he could see the ideas, he could see the mental universe, he could perceive the mental universe. So the Purusha, or the self, though it is beyond the subtle universe also, the Purusha can feel, once you practice, advance in the system of yoga, you can feel yourself more as a mental existence or a mental body than a mere physical existence. Here, of course, Humphrey Davy had this experience because of some accident. The laughing gas did that. But we have to do it consciously. The yogi wants to raise the consciousness above the body, so that whatever happens to the body and to the lower parts of our existence, lower levels of our existence, they will not impact our mind and the higher levels of existence. So just as modern science says, the sum total of gross is the whole universe, the sum total of all the material existences, including our body, all the atoms and molecules of our body, dead or alive, are part of the universal cosmos. We can't deny that. Modern physics or science has shown us that you can't say that I'm living in an island, I'm living separately. Our bodies are connected with the surroundings around us, the climate around us, the influence of people around us. So all this physically we are getting impacted. That is why in yoga, especially in bhakti yoga, they ask you to be very careful about the food that you eat. The food which you eat is not just the food which is served by you, prepared by the vibrations, the subtle vibrations associated with the preparation of that food, whoever has prepared that food. will influence, will have a little influence on the people who are partaking of that food. So it is just like if you eat food from a contaminated kitchen, you are likely to fall sick because you are exposed to the unhygienic bacteria and all other things which are allowed to be grown in that particular kitchen because of lack of cleanliness. So your food gets spoiled, biologically contaminated. Just like that, it the food has a tendency, or anything that is material has a tendency to be influenced by the thoughts. Thoughts are also some kind of higher or subtle matter. So just as we are influenced by matter, we are also influenced by others' thoughts. The when the food is being prepared in a very bad mental state, those vibrations will cause similar vibrations to a certain extent in the person who is partaking of the food. That's why some of the Vaishnavas, they never ate, some of the very, very traditional sects, they never took food from other people's hands. They preferred to cook their own food because they wanted to control the quantity of food or the quality of food which is entering their body. They took it so seriously that they felt that if an impure person touches my food, or a person with a very disturbed mind touches my food or prepares my food, then it can influence me. So that's why this prana, through the medium of prana, the mental waves influence the physical universe also, the Annamaya Kosha also. So one has to be a bit careful when we eat food, especially when it is prepared, when it is coming from unknown sources. Now, this prana, we know, is the motion of lungs, which is one of the aspects of prana, is the motion of the lungs. We all know when this breathing motion stops, we die. Physically, we have no connection with this physical body, and they say the person has died, the prana has left the body. But the fact is, though the breath, the manifestation of prana is breath has left the body, it's not true that all the other pranas also, the subtle pranas, go away. They exist in a subtle form. They, just as the mind exists in a subtle form, the sukshma sharira exists in a certain form, and it still continues to get help from the universal prana, the subtle universal prana of God. And that is how the souls evolve, either through a new body, which is known as rebirth, or without a body also, the prana continues in its onward journey. So the regulation of this prana while we are still alive, while our breath is still active, while we are still alive to breathe, when all these things are under our control, they say try to make spiritual progress. Don't waste your time, because this opportunity you may not get. You may have to wait for another birth to get this wonderful phenomena of breath. Don't waste it. Use your mind, use your thoughts, use your body to do yoga throughout the day if possible, because that is how you are in touch. Through these 4 yogas, you are in touch with the cosmic mind, and you can control your body, you can control your mind, you can control your prana, you can control all the things. The self is above all these things, the Purusha, or the superior Annamaya Kosha, the Anandamaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the other subtler existences or subtler aspects of your body, if they are trained properly through yoga, can control the lower forces, can control the lower prana, can control the lower body, the material body. So control of muscles, according to Swamiji, he is telling how does a yogi or a person who practices yoga is superior to an ordinary human being. He says the control of muscles and parts of the body, which have become automatic now, We just breathe. Our heart, we just live like animals. All our functions of the body have been surrendered to this unconscious existence of ours. And we don't do a great thing by just surviving. Even the animals survive. They have their lifespan. Whether they want it or not, a dog will continue to breathe for say 14 years or 20 years depending on his life. That is his lifespan. So also the tortoise, they live for more than 100 years, 200 years, because it breathes slowly. So Swamiji points out that the slower the breath in the animal kingdom, the slower the breath, the longer the life. That's why people, when they go into animals, when they go into hibernation, such animals like the tortoise and all the reptiles, they have very, very long span of life because their prana is not exhausted. Whereas you see in the animal life, even elephants breathe very slowly. But if you see a dog, it just gasps for breath. It's always restless. It is not able to control its the frequency of its breathing process. And that's why they say dogs have shorter life. They don't live beyond 20, if at all they live. Uh, so they live up to 20, 25 years, not more than that, normally within 14 years. That is the only reason for the physical longevity. See, this is only physical longevity, is the frequency of breath. The harder you breathe, the faster you breathe, the quicker you breathe, you gasp, then the lifespan tends to be low. So one of the aims of pranayama is to breathe slowly in a very measured way. And it helps you on two fronts. It helps the body to be regulated. Of course, there is a limit also. We can extend our life unless we fall a prey to some other disease. If a normal human being can aspire or can even think of living up to 100 years or in his late 90s, that is possible for many people if they have good health. But that is not the main function of pranayama. According to Swamiji, this control of the unconscious mind, instead of focusing on longevity, the function of prana, control of prana, is to make the nervous energy which is under the control of the unconscious mind, first to bring it under the control of the conscious mind. Be conscious of all your actions, be aware of all your actions, and then put it in control of the superconscious mind, the superior mind, the superior beings around us, our Ishta, the gods whom we worship, the saints whom we worship, the holy people or the noble people around us whom we worship, whom we revere. So in company of them, we find that our pranas also get regulated. Our mental thoughts also get regulated. What used to happen when people used to go to Dakshineshwar? Swami Turiyaranji used to say that we did not have to make a conscious effort to think higher thoughts. The very presence of Sri Ramakrishna made, the moment we entered the gate of Dakshineshwar, we could feel that our minds are elevated without our own effort. The thoughts which were the horrible or the horrendous thoughts which we got when we were in the company of worldly people simply vanished. Why? Because we were in touch with the higher thoughts of Sri Ramakrishna, and his prana influenced us. And the people who were lucky to be present when he was in Dakshineshwar, they found a strange kind of elevation, a strange kind of good thought, some good thoughts started coming. That's why Master Mashe M. Swamiji, Keshav Chandra Sen, even great people were attracted. A atheist like Mahendralal Sarkar found that strangely he feels happy when he comes to Dakshineshwar. Though he did not believe in spirituality, he did not believe in religion, he was a doctor, a very rational man. But he could not deny the fact that the moment I go to this holy man, this pure man, Sri Ramakrishna, my mind is happy. So attracted by that happiness, he used to visit. And that is how the satsanga works. That is how these wonderful spiritual beings, the great people who did so much for humanity, the Buddhas, the Christs, the Ramakrishnas, the Vivekanandas, these are the people who are still alive and who have the capacity to consciously or unconsciously, if we are conscious, if we go to them with prayers, we will consciously raise our mind. But even unwillingly, if you happen to be in Dakshineshwar, there were so many people who by chance happened to be in Dakshineshwar. And during Thakur's time, they also got the benefit, however worldly they may be, they had some influence of Sri Ramakrishna's presence, and then that changed their lives. So many people got benefit that way. So also the idea of pranic healing. Now this is the effect on the mind. It has an effect on the body. Swamiji does not deny that. There is a thing known as pranic healing. How does it work? Just as the mind or the superior cosmic mind has an influence on the individual mind, it has an influence on the individual body also. Some people use it for healing. That's why Swamiji says when we saw Jesus Christ and others use some of their powers, that was not the main purpose for which they came, they incarnated. But now and then they performed these miracles like healing some people, raising the people from dead. What Swamiji says is what they did, like healing from a distance, that is known as, there are so many different types of systems which perform pranic healing. So we have this Reiki, there are so many hundreds of ways. But that predominantly deals with how to keep your body fit. So it should not be an obsession with us. We should not use yoga for that. But now and then even these great people have healed people. And that is how healing takes place. Whether you take allopathic medicine, you take homeopathic medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, it is partly the faith and the prana which heals. The prana associated with the thoughts, the prana associated with the faith in that particular system of medicine, that also plays a major role in curing a person. That's why Swamiji says the man who has access, he can benefit physically as well, though that is not the goal of yoga. But he says the pure man who has controlled the prana has the power of bringing it to a certain state of vibration so that he can access all the noble thoughts around him, which can be conveyed to others also. It's not just he can receive. If he himself is a yogi, if he has advanced a little bit, he will be in a position to influence the people around him. That is how these positive vibrations of the mind through prana, they 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 influence other people. So what Swamiji says, the gigantic willpowers of the world, the so-called world movers, even in the field of science and in the field of politics, they were unconsciously or consciously, they had their own prana under control and they could influence for the betterment of society or for the evil of society also. Some people would have used their pranic power for evil purposes. The great people, the great dictators who ruined a vast majority of human beings by giving wrong ideas, even they had somehow got some control of the prana shakti of the universe. But unfortunately, they used it for evil purposes and that's why they got destroyed. So the world movers can bring their prana into a higher state of vibration, and when that happens, we say these great prophets have wonderful control not only over the mind but also over the pranamaya kosha also, which gave them tremendous willpower. What we call as willpower is nothing but the power of prana. When do you say that a person has a tremendous willpower? It is only when he has full control of his prana and he can make other people or himself do what he wants to do. If I have a willpower to act in a particular way, if I decide that I will not eat this food and I resist the temptation, then actually I'm using my prana, which manifests or which expresses itself as willpower. We say, oh, that person has a wonderful willpower. So when Sri Ramakrishna said that he's not going to touch money, he's not going to fall a prey to the world, no matter how many temptations assail him. He had control over his prana and he said, no, nothing doing. I'm not going to fall a prey like ordinary worldly people. So also Nachiketa, when he went to Yama, Yama tried to test him by offering him gifts, worldly gifts. He used his willpower, his prana was developed. So he said, no, nothing doing. You may tempt me, you may give me these tempting thoughts, but you can't make me think as you want. I know what is good, what is bad. I have that wisdom by the grace of my Guru and the grace of God. So by the grace of these great souls, Swamiji says, their prana, these great prophets bring their willpower or their prana to a very high level, and then they act upon people who are struggling to exercise their willpower. That's why we find that what you call as grace is nothing but inspiring a person who is struggling to do japa, who is struggling to do prayer, to make him increase his willpower to do the same. That's what everybody says, that why does not my willpower increase? Because we have not tuned our willpower to these universal people. When we pray, what happens is actually a little bit of that prana, a little bit of that willpower, prana shakti, is transferred from that superior being or superior, our Ishta or the holy person, and that results in increase of our willpower to do the right thing at the right time, to practice spirituality in a regular way and improve ourselves. And we say it is the grace of God. So it is the grace of the prana Shakti, which the God or the superior being has. So all manifestations of prana which you see in this world around you are nothing but manifestations of prana. So this is what our psychic prana does. Swamiji, in this whole chapter on psychic prana, he shows that the goal of yoga is to somehow connect your individual prana, which is weak naturally, to the prana of the prophets, the Ishta, the God whom you worship, and hope that their prana or their mind or their spiritual force actually influences your own actions, your own behavior, your own life for a positive, for some positive development. That is the whole process of yoga. So Swamiji here in this chapter has tried to show that please don't make this prana or pranayama a trivial practice in your yoga, in your practice of yoga. Though prana has some trivial influences on our body, just do enough to keep your body a little healthy. But beyond that, if you are obsessed with the effect of prana on your body, then you'll get stuck at the gross level. So he says there are much better uses for this prana, the development of prana, where you can, through regular breathing, through regular japa, because as I told you many times, a person who is lucky to repeat a mantra in a regular rhythmic way or say some prayer in a regular rhythmic way, he will find that he gets all the benefits of practicing pranayama under a guru. So he doesn't require a separate guru to teach him pranayama. He gets the benefit of the pranayama unconsciously or in a very natural way by the mere rhythmic repetition of his mantra as his guru has advised him. So such people, they do the pranayama, they do the higher control of the mind, they do the entire process of yoga through a simple method of mantra sadhana, which that is why it became very popular, because you don't have to use your intellect. You just start with faith, and that faith in the power of the mantra, as Sri Ramakrishna said, takes you to higher and higher stages of yoga in a very natural, unconscious way. It, beginning with unconscious, but in an unconscious way, but slowly you become conscious when you repeat mantra. You awaken a particular power of prana which is there in the mantra, which is known as mantra chaitanya. Chaitanya means the consciousness which is inside the mantra, inherent in the bija, inherent in the mantra. So when you repeat that, the mantra Chaitanya has to be awakened. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Holy Mother used to say, by constant gross repetition of the mantra Chaitanya, when it awakens, then the prana in your body, in your own personality, gets strengthened, the willpower gets strengthened, and thus you make spiritual progress. So that is the whole idea of pranayama. Swamiji has explained to us in a very scientific way and tried to explain through the examples of the cause and effect which we believe in, which we follow in the scientific world. We always believe that there is no effect without a cause. We have to give the right inputs. That is what rational mind expects us to do. If we are really rational beings, then we know that nothing you will get undeserved. You can't say the God's grace should come to me without my doing anything. There should be some reason. There should be some yearning. There should be some hidden practice of, or maybe we may be doing it unconsciously. But some effort has to be put to make spiritual progress. So that is what Swamiji says we can aim to attain through the control of prana, through the control of, that is by practicing yoga. And this fourth step of pranayama is so vital, and it helps us to make our lives more make or keep allow our own lives to be controlled by our own self. We seem to be in more control of our own actions, our own destiny, our own happiness, joy, bliss, all these things. We find that after the practice of yoga, after the control of this prana, we find everything is coming under control. People's behavior with us is changing. Everybody is changing. Life becomes meaningful. Life becomes a challenge. There will be struggles, there will be problems, no doubt. But everything seems to be, which seemed to be out of control because we were surrendering our prana to the unconscious mind. Now slowly the conscious mind has taken over, and then we finally allow it to be influenced by the superconscious minds of the saints and all the guru and all the superior beings around us. Then we find that our lives becomes more meaningful. That is the goal and the aim of pranayama. We'll continue this in the next class. If there are some questions, I will we can open ourselves to some questions. I'm just waiting for somebody to raise the hand. So I'll unmute you as soon as I hear or see somebody raising the hand. Yes. Purnima Shankar is asking. Okay. Yes.
Like in today's talk, you were saying
yes,
this control of prana and mind, all these things we can do by practicing Raja Yoga. If we are practicing anything, if anybody practices anything else like Karma Yoga or Bhakti
Yoga, all yogas. It's not just Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga gives you a scientific explanation, but all yogas, directly or indirectly, consciously or unconsciously, all yogas help you to control the prana. And all spiritual development is nothing but it begins with the control of prana. It then ends with, it continues with the control of the nervous energy, continues with the control of your mind, and it goes to higher and higher control of your personality till you become one with the supreme consciousness or God. That is when you are in full control. But till then, it helps you in a step-by-step way to control. So not just Rajoga. Rajoga just tells you the 8 steps, dhyana, samadhi, pratyahara and all those. So pranayama is the 4th step, which Swamiji has explained. So don't think that that is the only, I mean, method. Rajoga is the only method. There are other yogas are also equally potent or equally useful, and it works in the same way. Rajoga shows us the method, whereas the other yogas are equally capable of achieving this.
So we can just meditate and that will help.
Yeah, meditate is dhyana yoga. Now you see, when you meditate, you don't realize that you are also practicing karma yoga. When you are meditating, you are performing some action, you are sitting in a particular way. And if you are meditating with bhakti, then you are doing bhakti yoga also. So yoga is common to all this. Bhakti, karma, the names are different, but you are dealing with different aspects of your personality. When karma yoga is being done, your will comes into play. When bhakti yoga you are doing bhakti yoga, you are controlling with the help of your emotion. And when you are doing Raj Yoga, you are controlling with the help of your willpower. You may say, your intrinsic willpower. So willing, feeling and thinking. When you do Jnana Yoga, for example, you are using your thinking power. So thinking, emotions, willpower, the power of restraining, everything, and the power of Karma Yoga, all these different powers. So meditating is not the only way. Meditating is one of the way, which you may call as Dhyana Yoga or Raj Yoga. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, ask Amit.
Swamiji, thank you. And I just want to ask that everything that we are saying, in conclusion, we can choose either to do mantra or combine mantra with bhakti or whatever, and it seems to have the same effect. Am I right? So the mantra and is that what we're saying?
What you said, when you combine mantra with bhakti, what makes you say that mantra is not bhakti? If you do mantra with full of emotion, it is bhakti yoga. If you do it as a meditation, then it is Raj Yoga. And if you do mantra as a ritual, you are doing karma yoga, isn't it? So don't think that mantra sadhana is something different. Mantra sadhana combines everything. That's why I was telling you, when she was asking, Purnima Shankar was asking whether meditation. So I said meditation is not the only way. When you do mantra yoga, you are meditating, trying to meditate. You are trying to do some sadhana of your ishta, which is karma yoga. And if you are an emotional person, you are doing it with lot of feeling, love for God. That divine love aspect is bhakti yoga. So it depends on your personality. So if a emotional person does, you can call it bhakti yoga, the same mantra. If you are a very dry person, you have no emotions, then you will be doing it in a ritualistic way. But even that will help, because you are doing it mechanically, you are doing it in a particular way. Unfortunately, God has not made you emotional, or He has not given you a sympathetic heart or an empathetic heart. And some people are, they are apparently very dry. They don't seem to have any feelings at all. They are just straightforward, very hard working, but they don't have that emotional faculty very much. They don't appreciate this devotional songs and all these things.
Okay.
So that is what happens when you are a dry sort of person. So for you, or for such a person, Jnana Yoga may be good, because they are unemotional people, they are rational people. So it is fine. So we have all different types of yogas for all different personalities. In fact, we are combining all the 4.
And Swamiji, just one more point. You mentioned about food and how we should be careful about where that food comes. And I'm assuming you might be talking about from all the gates. How do we make sure that that occurs for us, or does it not affect us because we're doing this sadhana, or shouldn't take it as seriously as Vaishnavas?
Yes, no, that is one aspect. Tongue taking food by the tongue is one way. As you said, we take food through various ways. We take through the tongue, we take food inside through our eyes. That is also food, isn't it? It is known as ahara.
Mhm.
Ahara means food. So ahara is not necessarily the food taken by the tongue. Tongue is one indriya, and the taste is one sense organ which is very active, and with which they say is very difficult to control also. But so also the eyes. We are taking food through our eyes. We are seeing certain things which you should not see. We are hearing certain things which we should not hear. So we are taking a wrong food even through the other sense organs. So, but Vaishnavas, as I told you, they start with food. So they are very careful. At least the tongue portion, let us control. Let us not eat food from the hands of anybody and everybody. Let us make a little effort to cook our own food, because you are sure of the intention. Nobody will cook. If you cook with evil intentions, you will be harming yourself. If you are cooking with lot of anger and jealousy and all those things, you will find that it is not only influencing your other people of your home, but it's influencing you also. So you have to be careful. Don't think that only when other people cook, the bad vibrations are there. You may be in a very bad mood, and you, with full of anger, you have just cooked something and fed. Then that is likely to influence other people also, and influence you also if you take that food. So we should not blame others for contaminating the food.
So how should we purify the other? What I mean is, how should we purify the other ways things come in? That's what I'm trying to get at.
That is the challenge, na? See,
Yeah.
purify means you have to expose yourself. Just as you asked me, how should we choose good food? You know what is good food. You know what is a not non-contaminated food. You don't eat stale food. You
No.
try to eat good food. So your discrimination is very sharp when it comes to eating. So your discrimination should be very sharp when it comes to seeing things. You know what is good. No even a small child knows, if it is taught properly by the parents, what is good, what is bad. We don't have to be told. At a certain stage, we all know what is good, what is bad. There are enough indications given in the scriptures. There are enough indications given in simple books like the Gospel. Thakur is telling so many things. Gita also tells you what is sattvic food, what is rajasic food, what is tamasic food. So who prevents you from choosing the right food?
Just me.
Huh?
Just me.
Yeah, ourselves. I mean,
Yeah.
not only you.
Yeah.
Everybody is responsible for choosing the right kind of food. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji. That's directly answered my question. Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else? Are there any questions? Oh, Shantanu. Yes.
Pranam Maharaj.
Namaste. Yes.
Namaste. Just want to clarify one thing you mentioned about sigmoid Freud, the thoughts around in the subconscious or unconscious mind.
Yeah,
Are
predominantly, yes.
Predominantly. Are these the same as our described in our Shastras as sanskara, or the good sanskara or bad sanskara?
No, samskaras are what is meant by the unconscious mind, definitely. But all our samskaras need not be bad. You know, it may come, what Sigmund Freud thought, he says there are some desires which were not fulfilled in the childhood. So some kind of suppression, some kind of fear, some kind of sexual urge, and all these unconscious thoughts, they influence the adult. That is because he saw some peculiar abnormal behaviors of adults. People, when they are adults, they should be behaving in a normal way. So who goes to a psychiatrist? A person who has some problem. He is not behaving in a normal way. So he tried to analyze a large number of such people. That's why I said Swami Yatiswaran used to talk about yoga psychology and compare it with Western psychology. I mean, Sigmund Freud's Western psychology. Western psychology has so much improvement is there over the ages.
Yes.
People knew that Freud was not the last word, because he dealt with a certain category of people. For them, it might be useful because they were sick minds. So they said that the psychology should be a healthy psychology of healthy people. If we assume that we are healthy people, more or less we are healthy, we don't have psychiatric problems, then why should you study this abnormal psychology? That is for abnormal people.
Yes.
But for normal people, why should you follow that psychology which considers you to be abnormal, to be unhuman, to be like an animal? Why should we degrade ourselves? That is the idea. Yoga says take a positive stand. You may have certain deficiencies, you may have certain defects, we may have, everybody has, but that doesn't mean that I should take the help of abnormal psychology to make myself normal. If I want to be normal, I have to mix with normal people or super normal people who are much better than us, so that we raise our standard. But if we mix with people who are below normal, who are always thinking of sick mind, that's why the psychiatrist has to be very careful. If he is dealing with the sick people all the time, you see, it may have some influence on him. I'm not saying psychiatry is a bad profession, but one has to be very careful, because you are always seeing, it's like satsang, na?
Yes.
Instead of meeting and living with holy people, you are always meeting sick people. It may be your profession, it may be your job. I'm not blaming them, but they have to do it. They have to always, it is just like a doctor. He has to take a big risk when he is looking up, after COVID patients. So he has more chances of getting exposed. So also a Western psychiatrist who's dealing with the counseling and all the things, they have to be very strong. Otherwise, they will be influenced themselves. They may fall sick. So they may fall mentally sick, I mean, not physically. But that has to be taken care of. That's why we have to replenish our sources and meet with the healthy people, powerful in the spiritual sense, and enjoy holy company now and then, if not physically, at least through books and holy thoughts, and enjoy the company of people who are in control of their minds.
Yes.
So there was somebody else had raised the hand. Subrato had, Subrato, you want to ask? Yes.
Pranam Maharaj, you were saying about the subconscious mind. Is there any way to control the subconscious mind?
Yes. Subconscious mind is very often, subconscious mind is not under our control for a normal human being. So that is why the Guru Mantra or the Mantra Sadhana, it deals not only with the conscious mind. If you do it with a very, very alert and conscious mind, it will definitely help your conscious mind. But it also has a strange power to deal with the subconscious mind and clean it. That is the function of the bija, which is attached to the mantra. So the bija vibrations which are attached to the main mantra, of course has its own power, the name of the Lord. Even if you just take a simple name of the Lord, see this Hare Krishna people, they have this Maha Mantra, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. They call it a Maha Mantra. They give it to everybody. So even the name of the Lord has that power, intrinsic power, Rama, Krishna, and all those things. So it is an unconscious, or it is a very simple and rudimentary way to control our unconscious. The repetition of the mantra, whether loudly or if you repeat the mantra loudly, the effect is less. If you repeat the mantra in the mind, then it has a deeper impact on the prana. That's why mantra sadhana is supposed to be done only in the mind, because it is more subtle and more powerful. And the bija part of the mantra, the very reason why bija is attached is that it can very quickly clean the subconscious aspect or subconscious part of your mind. Huh? Because that is one thing which is very difficult to control. The conscious part you can control by choosing to meet the right people, read the right books, eat the right food. All this you can do with your conscious mind. But what about the subconscious? What about our past? What the faults we have done in the past? The faults which we have done in the previous life? So all these things are not under our control. We can't control our past life. We would have done so many bad things in the past, in this life and in the previous life. So they are all there in the unconscious. So they have to be cleaned somehow. We can't take a broom and clean it. We have to use the mantra to clean it. So the mantra helps us to clean it unconsciously. I mean, in a unconscious mind also. Okay? Are you clear? Yeah. Prayer also can do. Prayer also, deep, good prayers, reading of books, doing good work, that is also can do. Doing good work, some helping somebody, that is also through karma yoga also it can be cleaned. The samskaras have to be cleaned only through hard work. Whether it is doing mantra, whether it is doing good service, whether it is repeating the shastras, seeking holy company, reading good books, they are all different ways. But for those who have taken a mantra, it can be a very effective way. That is why the Ishta, the very idea of Ishta means we stick to one God, we stick to one power, and that repeated prayer to that one particular power helps us to strengthen our mental power, our willpower, and also helps us to enter the deepest recesses of our mind, the places where normally we don't have access. So the unconscious mind, when it is so uncertain, we do not know what kind of Pandora's box we are going to open if we open that box. The unconscious mind is full of uncertain things. There may be good things also, we do not know. But it is like opening a Pandora's box. You know what Pandora's box is. When you open it, you may find suddenly hideous thoughts and so many things coming. So even before opening it, there is a way to sublimate it and see that it does not cause any problem to us. So the unconscious can be dealt very easily through the practice of mantra yoga. Okay? So shall I take your leave, or is there any more question? So tomorrow, I don't think we have a question. Tomorrow we don't have a session tomorrow. The Saturday class is not there, Gita. Because you see, I often combine it with the 5:45 class which I conduct on WebEx. So tomorrow, the Belur Math class, the WebEx class is on Kathamrut. So those who are on WebEx, they can access that. They will be accessing that. But my Sanskrit class or my Bhagavad Gita class is not there. The regular Bhagavad Gita class. If you all want, then I can have an alternate class at 4:30. Are you ready? I can think of a topic, but it cannot be Bhagavad Gita, because if I do Bhagavad Gita, those people who are listening to Kathamruta, the WebEx people, they will miss it. The Zoom people will get it. Then I have to repeat it again when they come. So I can choose another. Let me just think, and I will put it on WhatsApp all your WhatsApp if I decide to take some other topic. So maybe we can start another topic on Saturday, especially those Saturdays when there is no Bhagavad Gita. But this will be only for Zoom people. Are you agreeable to that?
Yes.
So let us not miss any Saturday. Only thing, instead of 5:45, I will prepone it to 4:30. Is it okay?
Yes. Can
Okay,
I ask?
Yes.
I was wondering whether you can do some Upanishads.
Who is asking?
Purnima.
Okay. So Upanishad, you see, the problem with Upanishads is, if we start, then we have to continue. Maybe we can choose a very small Upanishad, or it can be on a general Upanishad, because you see, Gita, there is at least a sequence: chapter 1, chapter 2. We have finished chapter 6 now. We have entered chapter 6. Whereas Upanishad, if you take a long Upanishad, then it can be done. But if it is a small Upanishad, it will end. And if people are not regular, then there will be a problem. So I normally would prefer to avoid these Upanishads, because you see, we cannot do the Upanishads half-hearted. If we start from the first verse, if you don't come to the last verse of that Upanishad, you will miss everything. It's not like gospel. The gospel class is the most easiest, because even if you come in between, if you miss a few classes, it doesn't make any difference. That's why I wanted some universal topic which can be chosen at any time, you can every day you will find something new in that. Whereas Upanishad, you have to ensure that there will be regular attendance and over a period of time. Of course, many of you are very regular, but at the same time, that risk is always there. So, and because we won't get many Saturdays, you have to go back to Gita. Next month there will be one Saturday perhaps we will miss in next month. Otherwise, Gita will always be there. So one class tomorrow, another class after 1 month, then it is very difficult to learn Upanishad that way. So let us stick to Gita and the Raj Yoga on Friday and the Gospel on Sunday. And for the classes which we will hold on Saturday, when there are no Gita classes, I will talk in general on spirituality, okay? On spiritual life in general, so that any session, anybody coming for the first time also, after say 2-3 classes, he will not find that he is a stranger to the class. He would not feel that I have missed the first 4 verses now. Unless I hear that, how can I understand the 5th verse? So let us not take that sequence. Otherwise, it's fine. I could have taken. Yeah, Amit wants to suggest. Yeah, wait, Ajay wants to ask something. Anuradha and Ajay, 1 minute. What is Ajay's suggestion?
Maharaj,
yes.
My suggestion is very simple.
Yes.
That, the Saturday classes when you don't have Gita classes,
yes,
I like very much the Kathamrita. Right, okay? Kathamrita, Gospel of Ramakrishna, I like it very much.
Okay, then that is fine.
So if you are able to do something.
Oh, then we can have Saturday, Sunday, both gospel. Yeah, because that gospel covers the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishad,
everything.
Life.
Everything.
It is a manual on spirituality. The most powerful manual ever available on this earth. These are not my words. These are the words of an American devotee. Not devotee, he was not a devotee, he was just a stranger. He says the greatest gift in this particular age is the gift of the gospel. Sri Ramakrishna came with many purposes. He came to harmonize the quarrels. See, religion was misunderstood. So he came to harmonize. He did not come to spread Hinduism or Christianity or Islam. He came to spread real religion, the heart of every religion. He came to combine all the yogas. So a person who wants Bhakti Yoga will get something. Person who wants Raj Yoga will get something. He came to combine Gita, Upanishads and all the Shastras within Hinduism and all the Bible and all those things. So if we take gospel, it is like a khichdi, you take everything, a little bit of everything. You have vegetables, you have grains, you have dal, you have everything.
And other thing, Maharaj, I'm so used to the Saturday classes. I don't want to miss it. Doesn't matter whether it's 4:30 or 5:45. Every week I'm waiting.
Okay, 4:30 tomorrow. Whenever there is no Gita, anyway you see WhatsApp every day, isn't it? So I'll announce.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, Maharaj, I've
Yes.
got used to your talks
Yes.
on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So my request to you will be, if nothing is there on any of those days, okay,
Yes.
you just choose
Okay.
a simple topic for us.
Okay. Then I'll do.
Very,
Yeah,
very
it's a good
refreshing for
suggestion.
me.
Okay.
It's very, very refreshing for me
Yes.
listening to you. And
Okay. So Anuradha wants to ask. Who's Anuradha? Yeah, I'm unmuting her.
Namaste, Maharaj. Pranam.
Namaste.
Maharajji, over the last series of talks on pranayama, one of the things that I think I've gathered at least is that there is a specific posture when we are meditating, for example. And then today, I think one of the elements that I've picked up is that food prepared by, let's say, the vibrations from the food also matter a lot towards our own.
Not a lot. It has some effect.
It has an influence.
Yeah. It's not everything. One need not be paranoid about it, but wherever possible, one can take precautions. Yes. What is your question?
The question I had is, I think when I, for instance, took Diksha, one of the things that was specified as part of the Upasana was that one has to have a specific asana.
Asana means the seat where you sit. Yes.
So I was wondering, what is the relevance or what is the significance of that particular specification in this entire cycle of pranayama?
Naturally, you see, everybody, if they're sensitive people, they don't want their chairs or their seat to be used by other people. See, even in normal households, everybody sits on a particular chair. There is a fixed position. If you go on changing your position, you don't feel comfortable. So also with asanas. Now, in a household, suppose even in a monastery, we have this habit of taking your own asana to the meditation room, and after that is over, either you keep it in a separate place or you take it to your room and bring it when you come. In Belur Math and all, they do that. The reason is that there are certain vibrations, just like food. The asana also gets influenced by the mantra vibrations or the sadhana vibrations which you are doing. So this whole world, according to Swamiji, I didn't elaborate on that. He says the whole world can be conceived of as a universe of vibrations. If it is a subtle vibration, if it is a gross vibration, you call it matter. If it is a subtle vibration, it is known as energy. If it is a subtler vibration, it is known as the mind, and like that. So the higher you go, the more subtle and the more sensitive you become to these issues. There are people, who when they sit on somebody else's asana, they feel very uncomfortable. See, we are so insensitive that we can't see the subtle behind the gross. We think, after all, what is there? That is also a woolen asana. This also is a woolen asana, or it is made of the same quality. So why not sit on any seat, whichever is available? Of course, when there is nothing else available, you have to sit like you come to a holy place. They have very big carpets. Now you can't say that I will sit in a particular corner, the only way you can do it, you bring your own asana from home and sit on wherever you sit, you use that. So that forms a protective layer. Now that is the idea if you are taking mantra sadhana or upasana very seriously. Yes, some people can be very, very particular about this. And there's nothing wrong. I appreciate, because they are sincere about their spiritual practices. Okay?
Yes, Maharaji. Thank you. Namaste.
Maharaj, you're outside or inside today?
Pardon?
Yeah, are you outside or inside?
No. I am inside the room. The weather is really good, but sometimes I thought, because the signal is good inside the room, outside, there may be some problem with the Wi-Fi signal. So, and it is very warm also outside. The sun is shining so brightly. It is like India. It is summer in India. I was reminded of India. I've never had such a hot day. Even if I open all the windows. Yes. Amit, very quick, very quick. Yeah, 1 minute. Okay. Yes.
Okay, yes, no, I was gonna say for Saturday, one book that I really enjoyed was The Eternal Companion, Swami Brahmananda. That's quite a nice one to do.
Yeah, but the thing is, Amit, Brahmananda is not so well known as Sri Ramakrishna. Now, first of all, I have to explain who Brahmananda is. Unless you are well read in Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna is a very good as for introductory people. But for people who have not even, those who are familiar with Ramakrishna's disciples, those who have read Brahman, those who know who Brahmananda is, you see, it's not the teachings that is important. The teachings and the personality of, if you want to read Bhagavad Gita, you should know who Krishna was. You can't read him out of context. If you want to read Buddhism, you cannot read Buddhist teachings without understanding the personality and life of Buddha. So when we deal with Brahmananda, we have Brahmananda's eternal companion. Then we have to first discuss about his life.
Oh, okay. No problem, Swamiji.
Yes. Okay. So shall I take your leave now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Namaste.
It's almost 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Namaste.
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 Ram Maharaj.
Thank you.